So I have a Reddit post here for our Reddit reaction. You've never read it before, so let's dive into it. The title of it is, Can I Get HPV from an Asian Massage Parlor?
Welcome to the Pleasure Program. My name is Holly.
I'm Victoria.
We're two licensed therapists specializing in sex therapy, here to answer your questions and share our knowledge around all things related to a healthy and pleasurable sex life. We're going to react to this Reddit post and give our insight. We may, in reading this Reddit post, change some of the terminology or censor a phrase here or there in order to make sure it's not too explicit for YouTube.
By massage, I mean laying down naked on a towel in an Asian massage parlor and receiving only a massage from the masseuse, with hands all over my body, such as my butt, and sometimes she will even grab my junk and ask if I want anything when I flip over. I get really scared and tell them no really fast and begin to fear that I have got genital warts or some kind of STD, STI, just from what I guess you would call manual stimulation. Is it possible to get any STD or STI from this type of interaction? Maybe from the towel that was there from the previous customer or from the hands of the masseuse?
That's a great question. Valid fear, I think, in the sense that there's some indication here that there's more happening on these massage tables than massages.
Yeah.
So let's first talk about, generally speaking, how STIs or STDs are transmitted. And this would be through the transmission of bodily fluids through your genitals.
Or mouth.
Or mouth. Or eyes.
Or anus. through your anus, mouth, or through genitals, anus, mouth, through sexual activity. Yeah.
Am I not being more descriptive than that?
But I don't think you have to be like, yeah, it can be transmitted through your mouth, your anus, your eyes. I think you just be like transmission of bodily fluids via
but
sexual
is sexually
activity.
transmitted disease, is that only through sexual fluids, or could it be through blood or spit?
No, that could be through blood or spit as well, I believe.
So is it then just sexual? Is it sexually
Because-
transmitted because you're having sex?
No, well, if you're having oral sex and you transmit herpes, that's still a sexually transmitted disease.
Why are we calling it a sexually transmitted disease? Because you could kiss mouth to mouth.
And that's still called sexually transmitted
You
disease.
could
I don't
cough
know.
on someone's mouth.
I didn't label it, Holly.
Oh my gosh. This should be part of it.
It should be, yeah.
We are having a debate over why sexually transmitted diseases or infections are called sexually transmitted, because you could be having a sexual encounter or not and still transmit an infection or a disease. But we tend to
and
think
that's why it's important to respond to this Reddit post, because so many people think sexually transmitted disease. Okay, I'm good if I'm not having intercourse. And that is not actually true.
So we're about to debunk a really big myth, which is the whole sexually part of sexually transmitted infection or disease. It's just we're about to blow your minds, because it's not necessarily happening through a sexual encounter or interaction. Our laughter is, we're laughing at ourselves here. We do not think
100%.
that STDs or STIs are funny whatsoever. They're devastating. They can be very dangerous and life-threatening. They're life-altering, not funny topic whatsoever. We're just being goofballs and laughing at ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. It is super serious, but...
And a valid fear. And something that we should all be, if we're practicing safe sex and just safety, right? In general, that we're thinking about.
Yeah.
In this case, this is not a sexual encounter. This individual is having a massage on a towel, on a massage table. So can a sexually transmitted infection or disease be in fact transmitted?
It is possible to contract an STD via what might be labeled as dry sex, where there are some STDs, such as herpes, syphilis, HPV, that he mentioned, that can be spread through skin-to-skin contact, even if there is no exchange of bodily fluids. However, There are vaccines for some of these, such as there is an HPV vaccine that people can get to try to protect themselves against any sort of exposure to this STI. And the likelihood is low, but if someone were to tell you that's not at all possible, that would be a lie, right? There is a risk even if it's a low risk. And then it is also possible to contract an STD via indirect contact, such as sharing a damp or moist object, such as a towel or clothing. So if this individual went to this massage parlor and he found himself laying on a wet or moist towel, there's a risk there. So maybe being mindful if you're going to a massage parlor, make sure it looks clean, make sure things are dry, all of that, right? There's also a possibility of indirect contact just for people's awareness. If you're sharing cutting devices such as, even just like a razor to shave your legs or your arms or whatever, your face, and also needles, which is more commonly known. If you're sharing needles, that can transmit a disease. Also, rarely, but you can transmit an STD through a toilet seat where there is infectious material on it and then there is a break in your skin.
Oh, goodness.
So again, very rare.
Rare.
Right? Like what's the chance there's going to be infectious material on the seat and you have a break and they happen to touch? But you should know the risk and be aware.
It is possible. Not the most common, not the most obvious way these infections can be transmitted, but it's possible.
It's interesting because there was only 2 replies on this individual's Reddit post, and they both said that no, it was not possible, and that he was just being paranoid.
Oh.
Which I get that the likelihood is low, but it's not possible, and better to educate. Hey, maybe you should get tested. You should consider a vaccine. And when you're thinking about STD testing, it's important to think about the incubation period.
Meaning that from the time you contract the infection or disease to the time it would show up positive on a test, there is a delay there. And this can be 2 days up to 3 months.
I don't feel like that's well known. I feel that people think, okay, I just had sex, I'm going to go and I'm going to get tested. Okay, I'm in the clear. When there are STDs that could be taking months to show up. So it's important to keep that in mind, right? If you're practicing safe sex and you're asking a partner to get a panel done and show you, maybe it's also important to ask them when was the last time that they had sex prior to actually getting this panel done.
That wraps up our Reddit reaction here. We hope that you learned something, found it interesting in the very least. Consider giving our video a like, subscribing, watch more of our videos. We have a whole playlist on Reddit reactions.